What's up? Happy Wednesday. Welcome into Let's Bet It. Lauren Javari here with Jared Smith. We are officially live on Twitter, Jared, for the first time ever. This is going to be an incredibly fun show. First of all, before we get started, you're Mr. Scottsdale. For those who don't know, Jared was in Scottsdale, Arizona this past weekend for a bachelor party. Did you tear up the town? How was it?
I did. What do you think? Should I move to Scottsdale? What does the
I'm a
group
big
think about
fan.
that?
I
Yeah,
am a
New
big
York
fan of
sucks
Scottsdale, I must say.
compared to
I don't
like
know if New York
Scottsdale.
sucks, but but Scottsdale is good. Now you're in
KK, I love
Vegas.
you.
You guys, he's like living the life right now. The absolute life.
I do enjoy traveling, as you do as well. Vegas is, I would say, Scottsdale was 100% pleasure, not business. Vegas, I'd say, is a little more 50-50. Did a lot of work yesterday, talked to a bunch of bookmakers, bettors, really starting to get the crystallization of this draft is starting to occur. Usually it does happen 24 to 48 hours in advance. And I'll be honest, I think I'm 100% confident, 99% confident who the top three picks are going to be. After that, I don't know. It's a crapshoot, as they say.
It is a crapshoot. To celebrate that we're on a new platform. Now we're on Twitter and YouTube, as well as like Spotify, Apple Play, or Music. I don't have Apple Music. I don't know. I don't use Firefox browser like Jared does. But we're going to give away some cash. That's what we want to do. The Let's Bet It analysts and myself created NFL mock drafts. And we're going to use like a different point total for them. So we want you guys to support one of our mock drafts. I'm not saying that mine's the best, but I'm not saying that mine is the best. So at the end of the first round, the mock draft with the most points win. Picks 1 through 5 count as 1 point. 6 through 8 count as 2 points. Picks 9 and 10 count as 3 points. At the end of that, if we're all tied, we all randomly chose like a number 20 pick. And that's going to be the tiebreaker. Whoever gets closest with that draft pick wins. So these are a look at all four of ours right now. Jared, how confident are you at this point in your 10 that you chose? Because I'm feeling pretty good about mine, I must say.
Top three, again, 99% confident. Walker, Hutchinson, Stingley. I tried to change my fourth pick today, but the producer gods, also known as Jack Harrison and Justin Lane, are not having it. But I think Gardner at 4 is where things get saucy. No pun or pun intended. Because because I think I think the Mekhi Becton news, and we'll talk to Teddy about it. Teddy's a Jets fan too, so we got two Jets fans. We'll rip it out about what the Jets are going to do at 4. But I think Becton, the situation with him is becoming, I would say, just completely off the rails. I don't think he's coming back, and that means that I think tackle at 4 for the Jets is in, and maybe the small. If you're out there right now and you can get I think I saw Iquanu IK the 8-1 to be the 4th pick. If you can still find that number, that's not a bad price, because I think tackle's the way that the Jets are going to go here, and I wouldn't be shocked if it is the.
Yeah, all you have to do is let us know whose mock draft you're backing. So go to the YouTube video, not on this Twitter, on the YouTube video, youtube.com, go to Pickswise. Comment in the section you're backing, and we're going to give away $50 to whoever gets closest. It's that easy. All you got to do is say Lauren. Just kidding. But yeah, that's all you got to do. Just comment who you think is going to win, and you can win $50. So make sure to do that. It's that simple. Draft tomorrow. Only 24 hours. You got to wait for that. Well, like more like 36, but it's okay. Who's counting? We got a lot to talk about today. Better up. We're getting into baseball. There's 15 games, Jared, on the slate tonight. Then we're having Teddy Greenstein on the show from PointsBet, talking a little NFL draft and just how you bet it. A lot of people maybe are just getting into NFL draft betting. I personally have never bet an NFL draft. This is my first year that I'm going to be betting it. So Teddy is going to kind of give us some pointers, some tips, help us out on how to navigate how to bet a draft. And then we have the Mexico with Diane Knox Balas. We have NBA Morning Radar. 2 more playoff games on the slate tonight. We saw one team get knocked out yesterday. Other series get a little bit more heated. And then we can't end without our Pickswise 3-star play of the day and our best bets of the day. So without further ado, let's get into it. Let's bet it. Better up. So for those of you who've been watching our show throughout the last month or so, we've been doing a segment called YRFI and NRFI. Yes, first inning, and no runs first inning. It's the brand new trendy bet. You get in, you get out, you either win your money, you lose your money. The NRFIs yesterday, Jared, went 12-3. That is the most in one day all season. The YRFIs under 500 for the first time during the season at 128 and 131 for the entire season so far. If you're betting all YRFIs right now, you're down 33.32 units. And if you're betting all NRFIs, you're down 10.82 units. So basically what we're saying is it's not necessarily a coin. You got to do some research for these. And Jared, my man, has been doing that for you all season long. Jared, about YRFIs and NRFIs today.
And again, I think yesterday was, I don't want to say a turning point because the season's like, if you were going to put it in, barely a month into a full life of a season. So I think it's hard to say, oh, well, now the NRFIs are the soup du jour because they went 12-3 yesterday. Just one of those days. These bets are random. It's one inning, one pitch. Can tilt it. Really does have a tilting effect on it. So my approach is going to be plus money YRFIs because I think at the end of the season, the YRFIs will be on top. Just a guess. Maybe I'm wrong. And I reserve the right strategy if things continue to trend towards the NRFI. Yesterday, I went 0-2 with these bets, so I'm not feeling too confident in myself. But I'm going to go back to the well tonight. And we are going to go to the Brewers and the Pirates. And we are going to bet the YRFI at plus 118 on the Brewers and the Pirates. These two teams are above 500 on the season. Almost up 7 units on the YRFI. Pittsburgh 11-6. Milwaukee is 10-8. Pittsburgh's bad at this. They've conceded in 10 of 17 first innings this year. That's over 58%. And they are sending Bryce Wilson to the mound today, who has an 11.2 FIP and a 460 WOBA against the current Brewers lineup. 2-1 to the YRFI this season. Aaron Ashby, not a ton of data on him for the Brewers, but I think Milwaukee's lineup is primed to get a run here. Pittsburgh scares me a little bit. They haven't scored in a bunch this season. But, again, I think these bets, and I think on the yes side, I'm only willing to bet plus money. On the no side, I'm starting to entertain the idea of betting minus money. Not there yet. Maybe in a week or two, we will get there.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
Slowly starting to get NRFI vibes. But right now, again, I'm still plus money YRFI only, and I'm going to be with these because, again, they're random bets. So we'll go Brewers Pirates plus 118 tonight.
And you have a couple strikeout props tonight, too. I know this Zach Greinke one, it got bet. I mean, you bet it at plus money, didn't you? And it's now like it's juiced at this point.
So I'm always honest and I'm always transparent with you guys. Right now, I do not have access to the same sportsbook offerings that I do when I'm in New Jersey. I woke up this morning at 4 a.m. local time, and I started my research for the show, and Zach Greinke was plus 134, under 3.5 strikeouts at FanDuel. And I said, that's a really good bet because he's had 2 strikeouts in 3 starts this year in 16 innings. And the Sox bouncing back after getting shut out yesterday. That was one of my losses yesterday was Daniel Lynch's under strikeout prop. So we're going back to the well with another Royal tonight. And, the handicap yesterday was the lefties don't fare well against the White Sox lineup. Well, Zach Greinke doesn't fare great. He's got a 428 FIP in 100 plate appearances, but that was all before 2019. Zach's a different guy now. His stuff is just not swing and miss stuff anymore. His fastball's hovering around 89 miles an hour. He's lost a few, he's lost a step or two, which is what happens when you get north of 35. Trust me, I know.
When you get north of 30?
I do.
5.
5. North of 36, almost. But this number has steamed down to minus 160. And again, full disclosure, I can't bet these in Vegas. So I wrote it down on my sheet at plus 134. If I was in Jersey, I would have betted at plus 134. But sadly, I cannot. Now we're doing the show 3 hours later, and it's moved. I still would play it at minus 160 because I don't see him striking out 4 guys today. I see it more of like a 7, 8 out of 10 scenario. Minus 160 is about a 60% implied odds. So I still would play it at under 3.5. I also like Carlos Carrasco over 4.5. Carlos is balling. Cookie is throwing the pebble really well right now. He's throwing less fastballs this year and more sliders. And I think Carrasco, for this Mets rotation, which really need a boost with Jacob deGrom out for foreseeable future, I think Carrasco has been that guy that's really stepped up. He's gone over 4.5 in all 3 starts this year. He's projected for about 5.5. Cardinals are a low strikeout lineup. But again, I think just because of how good Carlos has been pitching, 4.5 is a number I'd be willing to bet. This number's moved up too to 5.5. There's probably still some 4.5s out there. On FanDuel, it's 5.5 now, plus money to the over.
Would you still bet it at this point, Jared, at 5.5?
I would not bet it at 5.5. I would not. To me, I am willing to spend more money, juice odds, because the strikers, they're like right on the number usually. So moving it up 1 changes it dramatically, but just the odds being levered up and down doesn't push me off of it. So I'll recommend Carrasco over 4.5, Greinke under 3.5, Brewers, Pirates, YRFI are my 3 bets for baseball today.
Okay, I like it. I have 1 baseball bet today. There's 15 games on the slate, but like nothing really popped out at me today. But the one I was looking at is the Cubs Braves. Mike Leiter Jr. has a career 4.40 xFIP, and Charlie Bourne is 3.7. Like aren't pitching that well. So in this game, I know that the over like might look like the good spot. I'm leaning towards the under 8.5. I just feel like right now the MLB scoring has been down a little bit. Offensively, you look at Atlanta, they're 14th in runs scored. They're 16th in on-base percentage, but number 1 in ISO. Now for Chicago, they're 3rd in runs scored, 1st in on-base percentage in ISO. So Atlanta is consistent getting on base, but they can do some damage to a pitcher. Chicago is consistently scoring runs, but not relying on power, more on an entire team. Bullpen ERA is 2.47. ATL bullpen ERA is 4.19. I am leaning the under because scoring has been down, even though stats are like, oh, this game might go to the over. Until teams can prove to me that they can this season, I like leaning the under in a lot of these. And both Leiter and Morton are both guys that you can possibly score on and keep the damage. The bullpen's pretty strong. So I lean the under 8.5 in this game. Lock that bad boy in there. That's my 1 baseball bet today. I'm going to have more tomorrow. I'll have a lot of props tomorrow, and then we're really going to deep dive into the NFL draft tomorrow as well. And speaking of the NFL draft, Jared, we're deep diving today too. Let's bring in our good friend Teddy Greenstein. He's a senior at PointsBet, helping us out a little bit just on how to bet. How the heck are you today? Happy hump.
I'm good, man. The Wi-Fi is a little choppy, so if there are delays, I'm not blowing you guys off, but I'm hearing little gaps.
Hey, there's
I think we're blaming this on Jared.
Technology.
Yeah, this is Jared and his hotel Wi-Fi, man. You got to step up. You got to stay at a Four Seasons, man. Enough of these Best Westerns, man. You gotta do a little better.
Teddy, if I showed you the view from my balcony at Cosmo right now, I think you would change your tune on that.
Oh, I am jealous now. So you're at the Cosmo in Vegas?
Yeah, I'm literally overlooking the draft I can see the draft stage right now. Like literally.
He's just having a quick mic drop, quick like pump up and good to go. I mean, it's good.
So get me to that Aria poker room. But in the meanwhile, for those of us not in Vegas who can bet in one of PointsBet's 10 legal states. Yeah, I mean, Jack, the producer, asked me. He said, like, any advice for first-time NFL draft bettors? And normally, we're telling people, hey, whatever you want. But in this case, I would say don't go crazy with it. Like, unless you have a real inside source like, your neighbor, his fourth cousin is friends with the Jets assistant personnel director, and he hears that the Jets like Kyle Hamilton. Everybody thinks they have an insider here, and they probably don't. So don't go too crazy. I mean, this market for the first outright pick has been so volatile. We've never seen any. In past years, we've had Trevor Lawrence, who was minus 10,000. And this year, we've had 7 different guys at the top right. It's going to be a good trivia question one day, but Spencer Rattler was the first guy before last season. And then we had Sam Havon Thibodeau, Aiden Hutchinson, Evan Neal, Ikem Ekwonu, and now Trayvon Walker. But I can tell you, our traders don't feel great even about Walker, who's minus 225.
Really? That's what
funny that
I
you
was actually because. Oh, Jared, I can go. I mean, I was going to say
Lauren,
the
you
same
go.
thing. The market has shifted heavily towards Trayvon Walker. Like, how much money has PointsBet seen come on over the past couple of days?
Yeah, a lot on Walker. He represents 38% of our handle for the number 1 pick. Evan Neal, 27%. There's a lot of early money on him. Hutchinson only 13% and Ekwonu 12%. I'm very surprised about Hutch because he's the most basically famous player. He's the most accomplished college player. Michigan is one of our legal states. Lauren, I think, is a big fan of his work. So I would have thought Aiden Hutchinson would be like 40%. I mean, everyone was seeing him terrorize Ohio quarterbacks and just have an amazing season, but not a lot of faith, and maybe that's why Hutchinson last at the top of the board, because maybe there are some savvy bettors out there who are not convinced.
Well, it's funny that we're talking about the number 1 pick because we have some breaking news that just came up as you were speaking. The Jaguars just extended Robinson. Now, he was franchised, but we weren't sure what the long-term situation would be. Yeah. There was some chatter in the Jaguars, team room, war room. Balky wants Walker, wants an offensive tackle. Well, Now they just extended Cam Robinson. So any inklings in my eyes of or Evan Neal or any one of these offensive tackles going 1 to Jacksonville is now gone. I think, and I feel honestly, Teddy, I feel pretty confident of the Walker's team. In my experiences betting this draft, the late tends to be the sharpest steam when it comes to the late news that we're getting on Trayvon Walker. And then 2 makes so much sense from a fit standpoint, and he's a hometown kid. I know Sauce Gardner's also from Detroit. That the hometown angle makes sense. But I see Hutchinson going 2, which means I think 3 is really where this draft starts with Houston. And we're hearing a lot of smoke on Derek Stingley. I think Stingley goes 3. I think Houston wants that kind of they have no talent in their secondary. And I think 1, 2, and 3 in my eyes is pretty set. Have you guys seen a lot of buzz on Stingley? I know the odds have dropped dramatically. I'm hearing it all over down here. That's their Stingley guy.
We've got Stingley at plus 2,000, 20-1 to be the 3rd pick. So if you know what you're talking about, then people are going to make money. I know I'll be hitting that. I should take a break from the show to hit it right now, but I'll be polite and wait until we're done. That's something. I mean, is that more based on your own analysis of the player or based on like what you're hearing or reading or what, Jared?
Well, I think I wouldn't bet going 3rd under 8.5. I saw 9.5. It moved 8. I bet it at 8.5 yesterday. To me, that's the more intriguing bet because, and I want to take it one step further. I did put a ticket on Stingley to be the first corner taken at plus 250. That's another one that I would mention as well. And listener's incredible, and I have him under 7.5. It's one of my big positions of the draft. I love Sauce too, but there's just something about Stingley's upside in the SEC, his freshman year, and he was incredible. And then LSU, and then he kind of fell off the map. It was unbelievable. And again, the steam that we are hearing and seeing at this stage of the draft it usually is right. You know, last year we got fooled a little bit with Trey Lance and Mac Jones, but that was a quarterback, and that was the Patriots, and it was also the Niners. And those front offices are very close to the best. Houston is not, and I don't know. I could see third. I can see him going fifth to the Giants. I could see him going seventh to the Giants, but I definitely see Stingley top 8.
Yeah, I mean, this number has moved, but right now the under 8.5 on Stingley is -2. So I don't know if people have been listening to you or if it was -200 a few days ago, but yeah, it's not a great offering now. I think a lot of people agree with you that he's going to be a top 8 guy.
Yeah.
Jared Smith, the absolute sharp. Teddy, I also want to ask you about to be drafted. There's been a lot of movement in that market. It's been at this point seeing the most money coming in on the first wide receiver to go.
You cut out a little bit, Lauren, but okay, first wide receiver to go, so let's look at it. All right, so we opened with Garrett Wilson at +120, Drake London +150, and Jamison Williams all the way back to +600. Now, Jamison Williams +200. His odds have gone from 6-1 to 2-1, and Garrett Wilson is a solid favorite at -130. Garrett Wilson, 50% of the bet count, 70%, 76% of the handle on him to be the first wide receiver taken. Had an amazing career at Ohio State. He's one of our biggest liabilities. So to be honest, the book is written for Williams or London to be the first receiver off the board.
Honest. The wide receiver market in this draft is fascinating. Over 5.5 wide receivers was the first bet that I made back on April 13th. I have 6. I have Wilson. I have London. I have Williams. I have Olave. I have Burks. And then the 6th is my guy, Jahan Dotson from Pitt. You're not going to get over receivers anymore. But what you can do in a correlated play is go under 32.5 on Jahan Dotson, which is basically Jahan Dotson to be a first-round pick. That's another bet you can make if it's available. That, in my eyes, is the 6th guy. The first wide receiver, Teddy, Jamison Williams, the best wide receiver in this class. Pure story.
1,000%.
Stop the tape right now. But it's the injury concerns, which is why he might drop. But I'm hearing he might be ready for training camp. And if that man is ready to go by August, there is going to be a team that is going to take him in the top 10. I have very strong faith in that. What's his number right now?
Top 10, top 10, but I have him as the second wide receiver drafted. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I think there's a debate about who the first wide be, but I think Jamison Williams. Do you guys have it at 11? I think the under would be the spot if you have a half on Williams.
So his over is 11.5. What do you think?
Because I think now, granted, the part about these drafts that's fascinating, we have no access to the medicals. None. They're college kids. There's HIPAA laws. We have no access to medicals. Obviously, the teams.
Jared is in Vegas, though, to sneak in and figure out the medicals at this point. Though.
I'm going to sneak.
That's why you're there, buddy. Not just to hit the craps table. You're there to steal the medicals from the teams. Come on.
I want to know Jamison's medicals. If that man is ready to play come August, he is going to be, maybe not the first taken, but he will be one of the first, if not top 10 pick. And the Jets at 10 and Washington at 11 both need receivers. So under 11.5 makes sense. And then Deebo Samuel, though, could blow up the whole market in the next 24 hours. That's the part that concerns me about betting receivers early on in this draft. We don't know what the Deebo situation is.
Right. Is that a bunch of smoke? The Jets interested in my favorite team, favorite player, Deebo Samuel, or is that real?
I think the Jets do want Deebo, but does John Lynch want to trade him? The asking price.
Right.
I have Garrett Wilson being my first wide receiver going to the Atlanta Falcons. And then I have James at 10 to the Jets because it gives Zach Wilson a big play weapon. But I think that Jamison Williams is the number 1 wide receiver in this draft because of the ACL injury. I think that Wilson will be taken first. because the foul we have right now is it's right. They need a quarterback too, but Walker is an even bigger need. And I think Wilson's a special talent. We all saw what he was able to do this season. And I think Jameson Williams dropped. But again, you guys, this is all a toss-up. It's like there's like so many different things that could happen to come tomorrow.
Right.
Like we have no clue, Teddy, how all of this is going to.
Yeah, it makes it fun. So many years, there's not that much drama. They have the big names, but from a betting perspective, completely wild. Like, Tyler Linderbaum, who became a sensation in the Midwest, the Iowa center, and people are, hoping he gets drafted well, despite the reports of his short arms. His over under is 20.5. That's going to be a good one. So yeah, these Ohio State receivers that we've been watching for years, like Olave and Wilson, and it's great also to see a lot of receivers go early. A lot of years, receivers are totally discounted because everybody figures they're just not going to be good as freshmen. So to see, the NFL now having a splashy guy in the first round is a good sign for the league.
Yeah, I agree.
We love it. Teddy, before we let you go, I want to ask you, Teddy, before we let you go, about QB dads. What is QB dad?
Well, Lauren, thank you so much for asking. I've been putting 2 years of my life into this book. I worked on it with Donovan Dooley, who's a trainer in Detroit. And he has all these stories about these dads who are basically nuts. Not as bad as like Todd Marinovich's dad. They're not abusing their kids, but they're obsessed with social media. They're doing stuff like, I got and there's a drone flying overhead, and a dad, why is there a drone? And he goes, oh, well, there's a kicks to it, and accumulating highlights for an Instagram package for a workout. And you've got kids who are 6 and 7 years old wearing a fake 2-arm sleeve and customized cleats, and dads are flying all around the country, private trainers, all in search of a college scholarship. So, I interviewed big names for the book like Archie Manning and Kurt Warner, and then there are guys that knows like he is a freshman at Belleville in Michigan, already led his team to a state title at Ford Field. He's the top quarterback in the freshman draft class, already been offered by Michigan State. We got a kid up here outside Chicago who's already been offered by Maryland. He's a 7th grader. So it's happening earlier and earlier, and I was intrigued by writing a book about quarterbacks, and I hope people will enjoy it.
I love it, Teddy. That's awesome. Make sure to check out QB Dads. That's amazing. I'm going to start reading it. He's in the Hawkins, so I'm like, I need to fill my time with something, Teddy. I'm reading QB Dads. Love it. Oh man, Teddy Greenstein, thank you so much for coming on and talking draft with us. I'm sure we'll be talking to you all throughout the summer. Again, best of luck with all of your draft stuff tomorrow, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, guys. Day. Enjoy Vegas. Jared, get into some trouble, all right?
Appreciate you, bud. I got you, man.
See you later. Bye.
From NFL course, we're going to talk golf, bringing in Diane Knox Balas to tell us a little bit about the Mexico Open. Diane, how are you? Happy Wednesday.
How are you guys? I was going to say, Jared needs no encouragement for getting into trouble in Vegas. I feel like he's probably got that covered himself. Let's not make it any worse.
It's true. Sad, but you should have seen the fun I was getting into last night at Circa.
Oh God. This is a PG show, Jerry. Leave it for later. PG-13 sometimes. Who knows? Diana, we want to talk about the Mexico. Obviously, tell us a little bit about the Mexico Open's debut course. What kind of a player will this tournament favor?
So this is great. A brand new tournament, a brand new course. It's called Vedanta Vallarta, in a little place called Puerto Vallarta. So basically, if you go to Cancun and you draw a line across Mexico to the Pacific coast, that's where we are this week. The Greg Norman design course. It's long. Normally when we see these like coastal resort style destination courses. They're not overly long, but this is creeping up to 7,600 yards. They've added length, 250 extra yards for this PGA Tour event, and they threw in 51 extra bunkers, which I'm sure was music to the field's ears. But by all accounts, it's going to favor the leaders. It's very open off the tee. There's no rough. So we're definitely going to see those guys that can really capitalize. They're going to be going for it this week. And when I was making my picks, I really looked at off the tee approach shot as well, because our sources on site that really they keep a lot of these big cavernous bunkers surrounding the greens. So yeah, but I think it's really going to be a week to let it rip off the tee with it. It's not going to be that penalizing.
Diane, when I was looking at the odds for this event, a gap between Jon Rahm and the field. Now listen, could he win this tournament? Sure. Of course, absolutely. This was kind of the case. I remember a couple years ago, Bryson at Rocket Mortgage Detroit was like 5-1, and the rest of the field was like 10, 15, 20-1, and he won the tournament. I bet on a golf tournament with 100 plus guys at plus 450. Give me a reason why anyone should even consider betting Jon Rahm in this tournament. It seems like a sucker's bet.
Yeah, I wouldn't touch it. I think the only reason that you would is because he's Jon Rahm. He's doing the world, and we know what he's capable of doing. But yeah, to me, I think that by having so few of the superstars headlining the field, it just makes the board wide open. There's so much value to be had when you really dig deep. So I wouldn't touch Jon Rahm this week. Could he win? Of course he could win. He's the sort of player that he tees it up. But first of all, I really questioned why he would play this event. You know, we're counting down to the PGA Championship. So when I saw that he was playing, it was a little bit of a strange one. So yeah, I don't know. He's definitely not one of my picks because I didn't see any value in those odds.
Yeah, speaking of this being more of a weaker field, should bettors be looking at more of a long shot, like take a few long shots as the heavy hitters are kind of sitting this one out?
I think so. I think it's a really good opportunity to have a look down the board and find a long shot. We know that there's no rough. So you're looking at these guys that are known to hit the ball a mile, but the wayward tee shot is the thing that really kind of like holds them back. That's not going to be a factor this week. So I like to think of it as an opportunity week because the standard PGA Tour now is so phenomenal. Really, when these guys are teeing it up, like win, there's probably a handful of guys that you're looking at that, you know, maybe they're sponsors exemptions or Monday qualifiers that you probably wouldn't think to touch. But this is such an opportunity week for those middle of the road guys to go out and really put on a display.
Abraham Answer, native of Mexico. This is a great opportunity for him on his home turf. And not just that. I mean, I think that alone is a great reason to bet on a golfer, but his metrics also match looking for here. Talk to me about Abe. 20-1, not a bad price either.
I like about this week is that when Daniel Berger was on Monday, I feel like everyone else's odds were slashed a little bit after that. But Answer at 20-1. I love him. I love him here this week because he's such a proud Mexican and they really embrace their golfers hard. He's going to have a hero's welcome this week. Him and Carlos Ortiz are going to be like the real star attractions. But Answer played great at the match play. And then in his hometown, the Valero Texas Open, and he withdrew through illness. And we never really got to the bottom of that. Then he didn't play great at the Masters when everyone was really expecting him to because he had done before. So I think that he's had that little dip and now it's time to regain that form. And I think that this could be a fantastic week to do it. Doing so well. The approach iron play is always so dialed in and precise. He's not the longest off the tee, but you know, he's a wee guy and he's not short of the tee by any means. So really like Answer this week, you know, to go out and try and win his national open.
about Matt Jones and Scott Stallings? So you said you got Matt Jones at 65 to 1 and Scott Stallings at 80 to 1 odds. What do you like about those two guys?
Oh, I love Matt Jones. He was the first name that I looked for. And when I saw him at 65 to 1, I'm like, jump on this right now. He is, he's a phenomenal wind player, right? So when we have these coastal courses, that Pacific wind, I actually spoke to Jason Duffner last night, who's playing this week, and he said that the Willie is a fact. So that always has to be taken into consideration. Matt Jones won last year at the Honda Classic, always blustered around PGA. It was especially last year, and he finished second this year at the start of the year, the Century Tournament of Champions in Hawaii, again coastal course. So I just think that this just fits him to a T. The wayward T-ball is always the thing that I worry about with Jones, but again, not really that of a concern this week. His iron play is phenomenal. He is one of the best, I think, like 5th on the PGA now for that approach around the green shot. And yeah, I love him. We just saw him finish, what was it, runner-up at the Valero Texas Open just a couple of weeks ago before the Masters. So he's got that form. I think Matt Jones is going to be, I think he's going to be on a lot of people's book.
Yeah, and I know our buddy Elk would approve of his fellow Aussie getting into the mix there. All right, bottom of the board, and this is where you thrive, Diane. To me, this is where, and this is a week to do it, to go dumpster diving for some of these, guys at the bottom of this card here. Carlos Ortiz, top 5 is 16 to 1. You kind of mentioned the hometown angle there, but how about Matt Trainer, 28 to 1, top 10? Who is this guy, and why is he such a long shot to finish top 10?
Well, he's Martin Trainer. So we have to get
Martin
his name
Trainer,
right.
Excuse me. I don't even know his name. That's
How
just
much
Matt
we
Trainer.
know about
He's
it,
great.
Diane. That's how much we know about it.
Oh, this is such a long shot, right? And when I was typing it up, I thought, am I really doing this? Am I really recommend this guy in any way, shape, or form? But plus 2,800 for a top 10 finish. When do we ever see that? And Martin Trainer won. Yeah. This course has been likened to the Punta Cana course. And Martin Trainer won a tournament a couple of years ago. It's his only win on the PGA Tour. And round about that time, we saw nothing from him. He was basically missing every single cut. Then he won this tournament, and it was like, what? So we've seen lately this season that he is performing better. He's making cuts, and he's had a couple of really good performances. He hits the ball a mile. So that was the thing that I think, okay, the problem with him is always that you never really know where it's going to go off the tee with the driver. However, he hits it so far that I thought, do you know what? Let's just get it going this week for a really, really long hitter. He actually putts good too, his putting stats. So I thought, just roll with it. And at plus 2,800 for a top 10, I thought it's worth a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, listen,
I agree.
I once bet on a golfer because you came on a show and told me to, and I'm still collecting dividends from that. So I am not doubting you, my friend.
Okay.
And if I wonder if his brother Matt Trainer is going to be watching this week. But if Martin Trainer does then, you're going to come back on the show. You're going to have a hero's welcome next week here on Let's Bet It if Martin Trainer goes top 10.
Yeah, but you did mention that Carlos Ortiz, 16 to 1 for the top 5. There's really, that's an example of the great prices that are available this week. And as soon as I saw that, I thought, oh, great. And, as you said, he's just going to have that pep in his step. His brother's playing this week, which is cool. And he's won the Mexico Open before. So I think the two of them, they're just, they're going to have such a great reception from the fans and from the locals. And Carlos's best finish was runner-up at Mayacoba, the other event in Mexico, just at the end of last year. So, yeah, I think that he's not been playing the way that we're used to seeing him play. So this is a bit of a game changer for him.
Diane Knox Balas, thank you so much for coming on and breaking down the brand new Mexico Open. Best of luck with your long shot bets this weekend. We'll see you again next week. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, guys.
Great job,
Oh,
Diane.
love her. She's the absolute best. Okay, from
She
the
is.
course, Jared, to the court. 3 games that we witnessed yesterday. Number 1, the Hawks lose in an absolute heartbreaker. They are the second team eliminated from the playoffs. Behind the Nets, you got swept. The Hawks, it was more of a gentleman's sweep. I'm sad because I'm done. I'm actually leaving after doing the show and going to do some exit interviews with the Atlanta Hawks players. Just your thoughts on that series. The Heat were the better team, and defensively, their pressure was stifling.
Yeah, I mean, I think you probably can speak to the ins and outs of the series a little better than me. I'll say this. You did an amazing job this season with the Hawks. And I know I'm sad for it to be over, as I'm sure the players are, and I'm sure you'll get the last hurrah today with the exit interviews. But it's been awesome watching you do your thing with Atlanta this year because I really enjoy working with you. And congratulations on an amazing season.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a really fun season. Thank you for saying that. I really appreciate that. Yeah, we flew back last night after the game from Miami, and I sat down in my bed and I'm like, I'm sad. I'm not ready for it to be over yet. But all good things come to an end, and there's always next year. And we still got our NBA playoffs ahead of us. And I love working with you too, by the way. So we got Pickswise all summer long, and I'm so excited to really dive into baseball, especially, and dive into some of these playoffs as well. So that's going to be super exciting. The Grizzlies, I don't know if people are living under a rock if you haven't seen this. John Morant absolutely went horizontal and flew through the freaking air for one of the best dunks that I've ever seen in my entire life. And then they go on to win that game with 3 seconds left. John Morant, kind of back up there. It was phenomenal. He is such a good stinking player. The Grizzlies are now up 3-2 in the series. Timberwolves facing a little at this point.
Yeah, and last night watching that game, of course, if you were a part of the show yesterday, Grizzlies Suns moneyline parlay. Scout came on. We loved the pick. It was the play of the day. And I wasn't feeling too hot and heavy about the Grizz midway third quarter. And you know what? This Memphis team, I don't know if Minnesota lost the game more than Memphis won it. I think I'm kind of on the fence about that. But I give a lot of credit to the Grizzlies, staff, team, crowd. They didn't give up. They were in that game from start to finish. They didn't give up. John Morant is one hell of a player, and
my God,
they're going to be a tough matchup in this next round against Golden State. If I'm assuming it will be Golden State Memphis, that is going to be a grind because Memphis's nickname back when they had 5-10 years ago when they were a little more of a defensive minded team. Now they're an offensive minded team. They were a grindhouse. And I got that vibe last night watching that fourth quarter. They just kept in it. And then eventually they got their opportunity. Anthony Edwards almost sunk the ship there. But I think the Grizzlies, the way they played in the fourth quarter, deserved to win that game. And I think they win the series.
Yeah, and then you look at the last game yesterday, the Suns taking on the Pelicans. I think that the Suns are a little surprised with how gritty and tough the Pels are. They've been giving them a hell of a series. The Suns went up 3-2 in the series. No Devin Booker, but no problem. McCallum picked up the slack. He had 31 points. Phoenix is going to try to close out that series on Thursday, which I think that they will. But the Pels, CJ McCollum, Valanciunas, all those guys really putting up a good fight against the number one team in the West.
I wouldn't count out the Pels in Game 6. I think Phoenix is in cruise control right now. I think they know without Booker, they're going to have to kind of get explosive outputs from Bridges and Crowder and those guys, those role players. And Chris Paul is kind of saving a little bit for later in the game. And I think I wouldn't be shocked if New Orleans won Game 6 and it goes back to a Game 7. I think Phoenix is in trouble long term too. I don't think they're deep enough to beat Golden State, and I really, really hope Golden State wins the West because we've got a big ticket on them thanks to Scal. So Scal had a hell
Yeah.
of a night last night. He was on both games. He really
Let's
nailed
freaking go,
the
Scal.
Phoenix game
Go.
and the Grizzlies game. Yeah, he's been crushing it. And we're going to go back to the well with one of his picks in a little bit.
Back to the well. Okay, well, there's 2 games going on tonight. One of the games is your best bet of the day. One of the games is my best bet of the day. Before we get into them, let's talk about the Pickswise 3-star play of the day. If you go to the website, pickswise.com, who do we got, Jared, for our 3-star play of the day today?
Oh, let me check it out real quick. Hold on, I have the other screen up. I'm in a new location here, so I don't have my usual, my usual setup.
I'm in a
All right,
new
we got the
location.
Marlins.
I'm in Vegas.
I mean, usually I have like a million screens and they're all ready to go and everything's good, but I'm off my game a little bit this week. I'm a little bit, out of my comfort zone, which, you're
Okay.
used to doing shows on the road. For me, this is a new thing. Marlins Nats is on the site. Canadians Rangers also on the site, and Diane's got her Abraham Answer play on the site as well. And by the way, our parlays have been absolutely crushing it. And again, we talk about them. Sometimes they're good bets. Most of the time they're bad bets. But they're fun, and they're winning. So I think AO had, Ortenberg had the parlay the other night. But listen, the Megas, the baseballs, they've all been crushing. So go to the site, Marlins, Rangers, Habs over, and Abraham Answer, and then check out some of the parlays too, because you don't want to miss out on those babies.
Pickswise.com. Check out the 3-star play of the days. Okay, let's get into our best bets. 2 games going on tonight in the NBA. We got the Bucks taking on the Bulls. Right now, the spread is at 12. The Bucks are the 12-point favorites. That spread is way too big for me, Jared, but you're betting the total for your best bet of the day.
I will read to you the excerpt from Scal's column, which is also live on Pickswise.com, about how he sees this game playing out. Quote, I think the Bulls are going to channel their offensive side and play a lot faster. Their strategy will be to try to open up the floor, get up and down, possibly catch the Bucks sleeping a bit. Here's why the data backs that up. The Bulls play the 3rd fastest pace in the postseason. So they are getting up and down very fast. Mm-hmm. The only teams that are playing faster than the Bulls in the playoffs are the Timberwolves and the Grizzlies, which is that series. And if you've watched that series, it's been like a NASCAR race going up and down with those 2 teams. The issue that I have with this bet and why I'm not overly gung-ho about it and why it's a contrarian play is because there's no Zach LaVine tonight. And he's a 25-6 guy in this series so far. And that's a lot of output to make up. Now, that being said, the totals in this series have been like the price of Bitcoin the last month. They've been steadily going down. So here you go. The under is 4-0 in this series. The totals have been 230, 224.5, 222, 219. They've kept going down and down and down and down and down. Now it's at 216.5. Well, what do they say in the finance world? You buy the dip, right? This is a contrarian play to the over. The only that we've seen a game in this series go over 220 was when the Bulls actually were able to score 110. Now, can they score 110 tonight? I don't know. But it's a game. I like Scal's analysis about Chicago pushing. Can knock down some shots. I think you're going to see more Ayo Dosunmu, more Kobe White tonight. If those guys can knock down some shots, I think the Bucks are going to continue to put their throttle down. And again, 216.5 for a team like Milwaukee with their offense. Giannis just gets to the rim and scores at will. That's a pretty low total. Yeah. So we're going to trust Scal tonight, and we're going to go back to the well over 216.5 Bucks and Bulls. And by the way, no pressure, but if this bet night, I will break the all-time LBI record of 8 straight PODs. We are sweltering right now. Not even the Bucks and the Bulls can slow us down. Over 216.5. Let's go. Cheers to the Gatorade.
Oh, buy low, sell high, baby. Buy low, sell high. Oh my God, he's already drinking, guys. It is like 8 a.m. It is totally fine in Vegas.
It's Gatorade. Relax, people.
Oh. Jesus. In a glass cup. It makes it seem more fancy. I'm looking at the
We'll get a mimosa later. Don't worry.
I like Golden State laying 9 points. this spot seems high. They're going to crush. They're going to finish out the series. The Nuggets are hoping to stave off elimination after winning Game 4. Nikola Jokic led the team with 37 points. Monte Morris, Aaron Gordon had good games too. But the State Warriors are back at Chase Center. They want to get this thing done. The Nuggets are 10-3 against the last 13 road games, but 4-10 against the spread in their last 14 against a team with a winning record. The Warriors 5-0 against the spread in their last 5 home games, and 5-1 against the spread against a team with a winning record. The Nuggets put up a great fight to avoid the sweep, but it's going to be tough to replicate that again tonight. Chase Center is tough. I've been there this season with the Hawks. It's a very loud place to play. Not as loud as Oracle, I must say, but it is still pretty rocking. Now, Nikola Jokic, he's going to put up huge numbers because that's who he is. That's what he does. But his supporting cast doesn't necessarily always play as well on the road. And for Golden State, Poole had a really quiet game for the Warriors in their last game. I don't see that happening again. The Nuggets are 2-7-1 in their last 10 games at Golden State. The Warriors wrap up the series, do it in style by 10 points or more. I like Golden State. Lay in the 9. Lock it in, baby. The Nuggets are going to be, Bulls are going to be, bye now. 2 more teams out for the count. 2 more series, moving on to the next round. So yeah, that's it for us today, Jared. This is our first show on Twitter. You'll love it. Tomorrow we're going to have a lot of NFL draft talk. Today, find us on the Pickswise YouTube channel. Go to pickswise.com. Follow us on Twitter. Jared Smith. I'm Lauren Javara, guys. Best of luck tonight. We'll see you tomorrow. Don't miss us too much. Let's get it. Let's bet it.